Yeah, I'm right back. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. You dig what I'm talking about? We right back at it, y'all. You know what I mean? I guess what they telling me is get back to your lessons, Kosmon. I guess that's what they telling me. All right. I guess that's what they saying. Let me throw a little music on while we get some people to log back in real quick. They was like, it's enough with all that having fun and you dig what I'm talking about, vibing and with your peoples, you dig what I'm talking about. That copyright ain't no joke. You dig what I'm talking about? So I guess we'll get into some of this information. Yesterday we was talking about land patents, deeds, and how the United States came into possession of the stolen land of the Aboriginal American Indians. Right? How did Great Britain come to it? Who authorized them? How could Great Britain turn around and then sell land to the United States, and then the United States turn around and sell that same stolen land and just parcel it out to people? How is that possible? Right? So we gonna get into this. I'm gonna blow this up a little bit. Let me see if I can what I can do with this. Let's see if I can blow it up just a little bit. If I can blow it up just a little tad bit. Okay. Right. Let's get to the teaching then. How this is from how colonists acquired title to land in Virginia. Remember, the Virginia Company is the first one to come here into America and set up a land patent system and deeding system that was able to share the land or divvy up the land and then give it out to its people who paid for it, who many of them you'll find out never ever even came to America. So they're sending slaves over here to work the land, indentures and slaves, and per slave they get a certain amount of acreage, right? But if we're going to get the land back, we got to first learn how the land was stolen, right? So how colonizers acquired land title in Virginia. Let's take a look at this, y'all. Right? And this is a land deed or patent right here. They just literally write them up out of midair under the authority of the so-called church and its doctrine of discovery, also known as Dum Diversis, right? This is a land patent. Land patents were my bad, y'all. Land patents were handwritten documents in the colonial era, right? And this is sourced from the Library of Virginia, the patent of James Wren, the grantee, April 5th, 1773. Right? Listen to this. The English, check this out. The English who settled in Virginia starting in 1607 asserted that they own the land. How can you own land somebody is already living on? Right? Remember, they had an international law called terra nullius that says, well, if there's nobody there, we could just claim it. Right? But we know they ran into the Powhatans day one, Delawares day one. You dig what I'm talking about? Day one. They ran into these people when they finally got up towards the Virginia region, right? And notice they start coming here in 1607, right? Now, during the colonial period, individual colonists acquired real property primarily through grants from the who? From the who? The Virginia Company, right? So who is asserting that they own the land? The Virginia Company, the same people who set up the colony, right? Remember, the colony is a business. It's a company, right? Now called a state. One second. And then, right, the individual colonists acquired real estate property primarily through grants from the Virginia Company. And then by, look, head rights. We're going to get into what a head right is. Into treasury rights. We're going to get into what treasury rights is and military warrants. Y'all may have heard of the head right system, but did y'all know the treasury right system? How does land and military warrants play? Huh? Listen, dig this. With rare exceptions, any pre-existing ownership rights of the Native Americans who were the current occupants were just dismissed. How can you do that? Huh? It was Dum diversis, authorization from the papacy of the Catholic Church that allowed you to kill, maim, destroy, utterly eradicate, and also enslave perpetually anybody you came across that didn't believe in Jesus. Right? It is through that ideology of or doctrine of discovery, the sextesimal, you dig what I'm talking about, and Dum diversis, that we get the vehicle that gives them the trumped up authority to say that, first of all, the overall lie that nobody was here. And then remember, it is their God who is saying it is their right to go and kill and slay people. Right? So, on the word of a spook in the sky, men created a doctrine that said you could go kill anybody and God already pre-forgives you. So do anything. Just take their stuff and enslave them. As long as you taking their stuff and enslaving them in the name of Jesus and Christ, you good. Huh? With rare exceptions, any pre-existing ownership rights of the Native Americans, the current occupants. Anybody want to come in, man? Hit the link. Let me see. Let me copy this real quick. Let me drop the link in here for y'all. Anybody want to come in? We did what I'm talking about. Let's get back to it. The current occupants were dismissed. At various times, the English stated simply that they owned the land through what? Didn't I tell y'all? Right of discovery through the doctrine of discovery. And the what? The right of conquest. Since I took it, it's mine. That's illegal. Shout out, brother DJ, man. That's illegal, y'all. Treaties were negotiated with different tribes in the 16s and 1700s to extinguish, dodge the hijack, Native American claims. Anybody who was born in America is a native to it. So it's no special term. And the people who we commonly know as Native Americans who are staying on the res today, that term being applied to a race or nationality didn't exist till 1960. Let that sit in. So understand, when you see terms like Native American in later documents, this is a person who is writing in hindsight using terms that didn't exist at the time. Native American didn't exist in 1600 or the 1700s or the 1800s. So they wouldn't have been using that. So dodge the hijack, right? And use American Indian. There were no natives here yet. Right? But you say treaties were negotiated with the different tribes in the 16 and 1700s to extinguish Native American claims. But land was seized rather than purchased from the original inhabitants. Did you just admit to theft? Did you just admit to colonization, gentrification, and oppression and genocide of the American tribes? Did you just admit to it? Because it says treaties were negotiated with different tribes in the 16 and 1700s to what? To extinguish Native American claims. So if your people did a deal with them They tricked them out of it, out of the land, right? But look, land was seized rather than purchased from the original inhabitants. You and I, the copper-colored Negroidal types of America. Look, the chain of title for parcels in Virginia starts with colonial records created by the who? So even when you go look up your land patents, tracing your people's names in the certain areas where you know they come from, you dig what I'm talking about? Remember, these are the American or the United States records, right? But you can tie those records directly back to the English, and if they can't produce a legal and lawful title showing actual payment or negotiation, or that they held up the treaty, their end of the bargain. See, none of this matters. See, these treaties, none of the treaties matter if their end was never held up. That means it's null and void. And also, if you stole the land, colonized it, and genocided the people off of it, right? That is an international crime, right? But who did you sell it to? Who did the English sell it to? They sold it. Or who did the United States get it from? They got it from the English, who did what? They just asserted that they owned the land. They just said it. Right? Look, charters issued by James I. Here go your King James. King James the Sixth and the First of England. Y'all. Same man. Did acknowledge the land claims of the Spanish in the New World, right? So we see in this now, this is RICO. Is the way we should attack this, because the charters which were just invented from dumb diverses, right, in the Spanish New World, also through the English king, right, James I, he recognized what the Spanish world did, right, taking their part. Why? Because he was under the doctrine of discovery himself. Is this a RICO? Is y'all following me? Is this a RICO case? Because this is the running of a criminal organization, powered and sourced by the Roman Catholic Church, but the crimes committed under the auspices of the Crown of England, Portugal, and Spain. Huh? If they all working under the same authority, right? Is that not RICO? Huh? Are we looking at this the wrong way? Were they not running a criminal organization? Let me see if I can blow this up just a little bit more. Okay. James I did acknowledge the land claims of the Spanish in the New World. Based on what? Prior settlement. The first charter issued to the Virginia Company in 1606 authorized the investors to what? Make habitation, plantation, and to deduce a colony of sundry of our people into that part of America commonly called Virginia, but settlement was allowed only on territory not now actually possessed by any Christian prince or people. Huh? So if you weren't a Christian, if you were a Christian, they couldn't steal your stuff. But Powhatan, who ran North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, and the Powhatan confederacies, they weren't Christian princes, nor were they Christian people. So that means Virginia, under its own authority, said that you can actually possess it. That is called colonization. That is illegal and is a crime and is genocide in any book. Huh? The Europeans who settled first at Jamestown were employees of the Virginia Company. Listen, the investors in that company controlled all the initial English land claims in the colony. That total ownership was altered by 1613, after which land titles for individuals were established by company land grants to individuals and particular plantations. After King James I revoked the Virginia Company's charter in 1624, did y'all know that? And Virginia became a royal colony, land was privatized by treasury rights, head rights, militia rights, and land grants awarded by the governor and his council of state. The Virginia Company was not a successful business before it expired in 1624. The Spanish had found gold in the Caribbean, then seized vast wealth from organized American societies in Mexico and Peru. But there was no gold on the coastal plain of Virginia. You were in the wrong place. You got to go more south. They ended up finding it, though. And the paramount chiefdom, and which is why North Carolina, South Carolina became so important to them, right? They found gold in North Carolina. The paramount chiefdom led, listen, didn't I tell you? The paramount chiefdom on the land at the time, led by Powhatan, offered no stores of mineral wealth to exploit. When Captain Christopher Newport sailed back to England from Jamestown on June 22nd, 1607, the Susan Constant and Godspeed, carried lumber and barrels of dirt that did not contain valuable minerals. John Rolfe demonstrated how the company could make a profit by shipping tobacco in 1614. His crop, grown from Nicotina tabacum seed, presumably acquired while shipwrecked on Bermuda, helped the Virginia Company recognize that agriculture could generate a positive return on investment. If farming was the answer, then Virginia Company had two of the key requirements: land to grow tobacco and customers in England. You see, this is a business, right? Tobacco farming required large amounts of land because the plant exhausted key nutrients in the soil, particularly nitrogen. In just 2 to 3 years, the new fields had to be cleared and planted regularly, so growing tobacco required owning large tracts of land. The charter in 1612 had granted the company all lands between the 34th and 41st parallel or degree. In the second charter, issued in 1609, the Virginia Company obtained all the land from sea to sea, west and northwest. So they just claiming it. You dig what I'm talking about? Genociding the people on the land, claiming it for themselves, and then shipping in immigrants to replace the people to work the land. It's just crazy. The missing third key requirement was labor in Virginia. Producing tobacco required many people to do the actual farming. At the same time as tobacco revealed a basis for profit in Virginia, the company was struggling to find new workers willing to be transported across the Atlantic Ocean. Immigrating to Virginia was a high-risk decision. When Captain Christopher Newport returned to Jamestown with the first supply in Jamestown in 1608, only 38 of the 104 colonists he had left behind were still alive. They dying. Ooh. You did what I'm talking about. Over half of them died. Negative reports from returning colonists discouraged even the poor in England from choosing to go to Virginia. After the starving time of 1609 to 1610, the starving time, Lord Delaware, where you get the name Delaware from, these same people that call themselves Lenape call themselves Delaware Indians. This is who the name was named after, y'all. Lord Delaware as governor and Sir Thomas Gates as his first marshal had turned Jamestown into an armed camp with military discipline. They issued laws, divine, moral, and martial, to control the behavior of the company's employees and soldiers. Growing tobacco was labor-intensive operation. Large numbers of workers were needed to plant, weed, and harvest the crop. Owning a massive block of land in Virginia generated no profit for the investors unless there were farmers growing tobacco on that land. Now tell me how a people from Africa who had never seen tobacco, there ain't no tobacco doesn't come to Africa to the late 1800s, and a European brought American Indians to Europe and then settled in Western Africa to plant tobacco fields, right? So the first planters of tobacco in America and in Africa were Aboriginal Americans. Let that sink in. All right. The Virginia Company needed to increase immigration to Virginia and to decrease immigration of servants who had completed their time of required service. The company adapted. Investors retained dreams of finding valuable minerals or generating profits from manufacturing items in Virginia, such as glass, but the revised business plan took advantage of the company's greatest asset, its ownership of a vast amount of fertile land. In 1613, Sir Thomas Dale began to grant 3-acre parcels to colonists willing to stay after their 7-year indentures expired. Boy, they was trying to get back to America so bad. To England so bad. They was dying over here. Those who stayed could work for themselves on their private 3-acre plots rather than serve the company by working full-time on its common land. In 1616, the colonists in Virginia, the ancient planters, right, us, the aboriginals, right, were given 50 acres in exchange for remaining rather than returning to England, right? They calling them ancient planters, colonists. They talking about these colonists, right, in Virginia. They aren't the ancient planters. We taught them. They had never even seen tobacco. So these Virginia colonists can't be the ancient planters if you just got there 9 years ago. Right? Remember, you ain't get there to 1607. It's only 1616 at this time. All right. The colonists in Virginia were given 50 acres in exchange for remaining rather than returning to England, since the Virginia Company had no cash. Listen, the Virginia Company had no cash to distribute as a dividend in 1616. Investors were also each given rights to claim 50 acres. Another 50 acres were granted for each new share purchased in the joint stock company for 12 pounds, 10 shillings per share. The right to purchase land in exchange for a payment of 12 pounds, 10 shillings into the company's treasury established the principle of land sales for cash. Are you seeing how they did it now, y'all? Huh? They're bribing the people to come over here, setting up on the land, murdering the people where they can. They set up on the land, and then people in Europe buy plots of land, big old massive plots of land, right? And then they set up their businesses in the Virginia Company, right? Through the Virginia Company to produce tobacco, to produce whatever. And that pays for their indenture and the land for a certain amount of time, which is usually about 7 years, right? So they're trying to turn profit in the first 7 years. So in the 9 years of their existence, they haven't turned a profit yet. They said they had no cash to distribute, right? The right to purchase land in exchange for a payment of 12 pounds, 10 shillings to the company's treasury established the principle of land sales for cash. And this is where you get your patent system from, right? We're going to get into that some more. We got more stuff going on down here. We're gonna get into it, y'all. You dig what I'm talking about? We got more stuff. You dig what I'm talking about? I want to read a little bit of this, and I'm going to get down here. I'm going to jump down a little, right? Because we want to get into the head right system, right? In 1617, right? Listen up, y'all. In 1617, the company declared that all new immigrants to the colony who paid their own costs for transportation would be rewarded with 50 acres of land. Huh? Immigrants unable to pay their own costs would also be worth 50 acres each, but the immigrant would not get that land. Huh? They worked for a person under the what? Let's see how they paid it off. For each new immigrant or head, the company granted a head right to survey and own 50 acres of land to the person who financed the trip. So if I paid for your trip over here, yeah, you were worth 50 acres of land, right? But until you paid me back and for the use of the land, I, in a sense, owned your work till it was paid off and you got your 50 acres through your head right, what is called a head right, for being a new immigrant in America, right? So if you couldn't pay, you still had the $50 attached to 50 acres attached to you, right? If you could pay, they just gave it to you. If you couldn't, you were indentured to another person till that debt was paid off and you worked that 50-acre parcel for that person till you was paid off, and then you took those 50 acres over. See how it's working? This is how the land was stolen. We got to know how it was stolen to understand how to get it back, correct? The head rights could be sold. Look at this. So ship captains could sell home with cash for investors rather than paper claims to land that they did not desire to own. They didn't want the land. They was just paying a little stipend to hit a lick. They was trying to double up, triple up their money real quick, and they just wanted the bread. You got to remember, a lot of the people who were paying for these trips and received the head rights of another person bought the land sight unseen from the Virginia company. Most of the landowners never came to America, ever. They lived and died in Europe without ever seeing their land, but they shipped these people over here. You dig what I'm talking about? To colonize this area for them. You dig what I'm talking about? They literally paid somebody to do their heavy lifting. You dig what I'm talking about? See, because they didn't even want the land. They was living fat already in Europe. Look, the head right system did not provide 100% free land to the initial investor. Transportation costs were high as £6 per person in the 17th century. It's a lot of money. Englishmen interested in a free trip to Virginia could sign contracts to provide 7 years of labor. Sound familiar? Sound like indenturement? Englishmen interested in a free trip, which is not actually free, to Virginia, could sign contracts to provide 7 years of labor. They did this on their own. Came over here willing, earning 50 acres of land at the end of their term of service. How do you earn another person's land? Huh? You think it's lawful to just come squat up on somebody's land, do whatever you want to do with it, and you can make money off of it and all that, but you stole it and you killed the people to acquire it? You don't think their ancestors coming back to get that? It's one of the reasons they always told you was African, so you would never look. Because when you look, you're going to see grandma and them. You're going to see great-great-grandma and them. You're going to see them there. Right? And every time you look, you're going to go to the to the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, right? You're going to, and when you go into their patent, looking for the patents and deeds, right? They got a whole system. I'll show Open Miha and all them later in the video how to get to where the Bureau of Land Management lookup thing is, where you can see if your people in certain areas by their last name still have land that was given to them, right? We're gonna look into that too. The opportunity to own land was the primary attraction for colonists to risk a trip across the Atlantic Ocean to the colony in Virginia in the 17th century. In England, social and economic mobility was limited. Few of the farm workers had an opportunity to acquire land and enter the gentry class. Travel to Virginia was risky, but the chance to end up as a landowner provided strong motivation. Now look, in 1618, the dividend, right, was increased to 100 acres or share, right, from 50 to 100. They still having people, bad problems, trying to get people to come here. Colonists who had financed their own trip to Virginia before 1616 were also given rights to claim 100 acres to make them stay. To qualify, new colonists had to stay 3 years or die in Virginia before 3 years were completed. The first 50 acres would be distributed in an initial division of land, and the additional 50 acres would be distributed once the initial division of land was occupied by colonists. It says, if they, what up, Dose? Ain't that? If they continue their 3 years or die, if they continue there 3 years or die after they are shipped there, shall be a grant made of 50 acres for every person upon a first division, and as many more upon second division, the first being people. The Virginia Company also invited investors, right, to create what? Particular plantations. Particular. What type of plantations were you creating? How are you generating this land? Who built a house on a plantation when y'all couldn't feed yourselves? Was the house already there? Did you usurp the house, the land, and the real estate? Just a question to think about, right? Were these houses already built before they got here? Just think about it. All right. Particular plantations or hundreds in the colony separate from the company managed communities such as Jamestown and Henricus. The company granted large amounts of land to investors willing to recruit settlers and establish new communities in the colony. These communities would be responsible to company officials. Decisions made in Jamestown would not apply to the particular plantations. The settlement of Bermuda set an example of providing investors somewhat extra control over the settlements they sponsored. The island was surveyed and specific parcels of land called, look, it's not the people, it's the land that's called tribes. Y'all see that? They later call them parishes, but it's not a group of people being called a tribe. It is a parcel of land, which is called a tribe. Right? These tribes were allocated to individual investors. So is this how the pale-faced Native American becomes a Cherokee? Is this how he becomes a Choctaw when they're already a Choctaw people and they become tribes because they are given plots, specific plots and parcels of land? Is the land called Cherokee, and they just usurped the name. Uh-oh. If you see the twist in the mix, hit me with a 1 in the chat. If you see the twist in the game, hit me with a 1 in the chat. This is how Mongoloidal people from Africa, people from Europe, who are the modern day Native American, you did what I'm talking about, primarily European and Asians. Is this how they become tribes? Because they were given parcels of land? Not that they are some specific blood type, ethnicity, have a certain heritage or culture, all of their own, because we see that they don't. Everything that, for instance, let's say the later Mongoloidal natives they got already from the Algonquins, even their name, Iroquois, which is supposed to be a different people, right? Even their name is Algonquin. Y'all see that? Let me read it again because they're going to think I'm lying. Right? The settlement of Bermuda, right? They're talking about the island of Bermuda. Set an example of providing investors some extra control over the settlement state sponsored. The island was surveyed and specific parcels of land called tribes were allocated to individual investors. Huh? And is this why they always want you on the Dawes Road? Because they know they kicked all the niggas out. And if you claiming a tribe, you claiming a piece of land. Right? Not a bloodline, not a history, not a heritage of being in America, right? But a heritage of colonizing it. In Virginia, right? Let's keep going further. In Virginia, those who established particular plantations, right, could also be company officials. The decision to create independent units within the colonies created confusing loyalties and conflicts of interest, but did stimulate some of the company's investors to provide new funding for colonization, which, by the way, you got to keep repeating, colonizing and being a colonizer is illegal in Commonwealth, criminal, and international law. Right? Colonization is genocide and the dehumanizing of a people group and taking away their right to self-determination. That's what colonization is. Right? It's illegal. So they're looking for funding to do an illegal work. We about to get our stuff back, y'all. I just want y'all to see. An investor who chose to fund a particular plantation rather than buy more shares in the Virginia company was betting on the success of colonizing Virginia, independently from betting on the success of the Virginia company. Tobacco could be grown profitably and shipped to market in Europe, and doing so on private land minimized the risk that the Virginia company might not generate an overall profit. Look, y'all. All right. What up, dope? What up? I'm a grandson, y'all. Look who working these plantations. It ain't no Bantu niggas from the Congo. They taught them to grow this. The Indians taught them to grow tobacco. They didn't know what it was or how to use it. They'd never seen it. Right? To maximize profit, and they were bringing European slaves. Right? They like to use the word indenture, but they're slaves. Bringing them over here from Europe to work this land. They were the very first slaves. Right? So if you thought it was you on the plantation, no, you weren't working on the plantation. The only reason you were on the plantation is because you owned it. Y'all following me? The only reason you were on the plantation is because you owned. Ema said, I need to write a book. You right, Ema, I do. I'm going to be a hell of a author. You dig what I'm saying? To maximize profit from tobacco production, colonial investors acquired what title? What are these titles called, y'all? Huh? What are these titles called? We just went over this. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna let you go ahead put it in the chat real quick. I'll be right back. What is this title that they acquired to these private lands called? All right, my bad, y'all. Let's get back to this. Oh, my dog DJ dropped off. All right. Let me see. Yep, they're called patents. Black and lavender is correct. They're called patents. From the patent, right, is created a land deed. The deed and the patent are not the same, right? So when people was trying to do that land deed stuff, if you can't pull the patent, you was committing fraud, right? That's right, black and lavender. Black lavender, excuse me. These titles, right, to these private parcels are called patents, right? Separate from the Virginia lands, Virginia company's lands, right? Now look, let's get into this, right? Because they talk about it, but they don't bring it up. They don't tell you exactly what happened, right? That's what Kosmon do. We get straight to the source and we read it. We don't just skim through it, right? By creating private land rights. Listen, the London company traded total control over its land in exchange for profits from handling tobacco and collecting the equivalent of property taxes or quit rents, right? It's called a quit rent at the rate of 2 shillings per 100 acres. It was so a shilling for 50 acres. Crazy. It was a long-term strategy. The Virginia Company loosened its control even more in 1618. A faction of investors led by Sir Thomas Sandys, right, outmaneuvered. I never heard of him. Let's go look him up, right? Let's go look him up. Sir Thomas Sandys. Sir Thomas Sandys. Well, I don't like to ride past stuff. The second Baron of Sandys. So we talking in the 1600s. So we talking let me see if this is the right guy. Yep, this the right guy. This the right guy. I want to show y'all. Remember, Kosmon told y'all. Hold on. Remember, Kosmon told y'all these people are buying land sight unseen, right? And they are Sir Thomas Sandys outmaneuver its opponents in the company. Outmaneuver its opponents in the company. They forced Sir Thomas Smith out of the role of treasurer, which was equivalent to chairman of the board and chief executive officer, and issued the 1618 Charter of Orders, Laws, and Privileges. We're going to look into that. But Sir Thomas Sandys, born December 3rd, 15. Hold on, here we go. Born December 3rd, 1516 in Hartlebury, Worcester, England. I wanted y'all to show this is the same man who was controlling all the land over there in England. He died 1644 at 75 years old in Bexley, England. Never even came to America. Thomas was born at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on November 3rd, 1568 in Hartlebury, Worcester, and baptized there 3 days later on 6th of November. He was the son of Edwin and Cicely Wolford Sandys. On April 7, 16, he married Margaret Tyus at St. Andrews by the Wardrobe, London. Her father was Robert Tyus of Wardrobe, clerk comptroller there. 1610, he was named in his mother's will. Thomas died at the age of about 65 in 1634 in Bexley, Kent, England. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go back to this. Okay. Right. Issue 1618 Charter of Orders. Let's look at this. All right. Let's look at that. Let's copy that. Right. Copy. Let's open up. What she call it? Open up one of these. What you call it right here? New tab. Paste that in there. Let's see what the charter of 1618 Charter of Orders, Laws, and Privileges is. Right? We just keep digging. Right? We don't stop. You dig what I'm talking about? Let's go see what everything is. In 1618, the Virginia Company approved the Charter of Orders, Laws, and Privileges that what implemented the head right system. So they go to implementation. They go to implement of how your land was stolen. This is how they did it. Huh? This is the system. When it's time to attack, right, the so-called patent and the deed, it is through this order of laws and privileges that implemented the head right system and gave the A-OK for some dirty Europeans to come over here and colonize some Aboriginal Americans. The system provided an incentive, right, to wealthy investors to send more people to Jamestown. From where? Where the people coming from, y'all? Straight from Europe. Straight from Europe. Now we see the system, of how they're getting the people here, right? Enticing them to colonize and kill the people off, right? One, let's get that out the way. And two, this is the illegal system, right? That must be torn apart and looked at, because these are some of the direct people, right, who would have got pieces of your ancestors' land day one, right? Soon as they getting over here, 1607, 1608, 1609. We in 1618 now. And this year alone, right, 350,000 pale-faced Europeans were packed in the boats and sent over to America as slaves in 1618. Mind you, this is a year before any African got here. And then the crazy part is the 20 and odd Negroes that was taken off the good ship Jesus, waylaid by John Hawkins and all them. You dig what? Not Hawkins and them, but the Spanish ship waylaid by the Dutch ship, right? Pirated by the Dutch ship, brought 20 Negroes. Those are females, right? But they didn't come from West Africa. For over a year, that boat had been docked and had been in places like the Yucatan and all that stuff for over a year. So in 1618, the boat that brought the first 20 and odd Negroes, females from the Caribbean, not Africa, had been in the Caribbean over a year. Over a year before it ever went up to Jamestown. Well, first of all, it wasn't going there. It got waylaid. You dig what I'm talking about? The Dutch ship waylaid the Spanish ship, took their little stuff, and this is how some of your first slaves get here. But they're Aboriginal Americans who have been sent down either to the Caribbean and then shipped back up, or Caribbeans already there being shipped up to America. Either way, you are Indian to this land, indigenous to this land, not from Africa. You see the trick? They did it through head right. They took you off the land to bring a so-called African or European in to take your spot and then hence take over the land where you're from and create what is called a tribe. The land itself is a tribe. Huh? You see the whoop-de-wop? They done pulled on us. They did the doop-de-doo on us. Look over there. You dig what I'm talking about? So Sir Thomas Sandy, one of the devils, and it don't matter if his skin was chocolate black or goddamn pool ball white. He's a devil. Is the one who issued this 1611 incentive for these people to come and continue colonizing. Huh? This is their so-called authority. And then once you look up your land deeds and patents and all that stuff, you're going to see a thing that says authority. And it's not going to be a person. It's going to be a land or mineral right under what? 1618 charters and orders and laws, right? Of head rights. That is going to be the authority. The authority comes from the rule, right? But where does that authority to create the rule come from? Dumb diverses. You see, we got their ass. We just got to know it, though. They already caught. They admitting it to it. I'm not making this up, right? They already admitted to it. Look, that great charter, what they're talking about, head rights, 1618 Charter of Orders, Laws, and Privileges, was a set of instructions from the investors in London. I keep telling you, these niggas never even did come here. They didn't want to be around you damn monkeys. You niggers. And they didn't even like they white old fade cracker dog smelling puppy and baloney people they sell. They didn't want to be around them either. I got the money. Y'all gonna do the work. I'll give you a piece and parcel of it if you stay over there and keep sending that cut. So instead of betting on the Virginia company to do the right thing, they bet on themselves, independent of the Virginia company, and they did it under a whole nother company called the London Company. They don't even teach us about that, right? I'll probably get into the London Company tomorrow. Okay. The Great Charter, or the head rights, was a set of instructions from the investors in London, not a fourth charter from the king. It gave greater responsibility for local government to the colonists and authorized the first General Assembly, which met in when? All right. All right. Under Sir Thomas Sandys, the company expected that granting land and freedoms to colonists would increase the population enough so investors would finally make a profit. Did that work? No. Watch this. Governor Wyatt issued, first of all, they were still coming over here getting scalped. Big Chief Kosmon wasn't playing. You dig what I'm talking about? Big Chief Kosmon ride down on that black horse. Taking scalps. Throwing atlatals. I ain't saying I was right, but I wasn't wrong neither. Right? You come over here killing my people. What I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to kill you. Right? If I didn't run, guess what I was going to do? Guess what I was going to do? If I didn't run, what would I was going to do? Huh? We was going to go to war. And then you got to understand, they over in the land, they ain't never seen none of this stuff before. It got more grass and green and water than they got in Europe, period. Right? I'm talking about just on the East Coast. They had never seen nothing that green. Right? They hardly had trees over there at the time. You dig what I'm talking about? They wanted this land. Some of our ancestors got up and got on. Some of them said to hell with that over your dead body. Right? It is what it is. Some people just not with the BS. You can try it if you want to. Right? And they giving these people 100 acres. You dig what I'm talking about? What people wouldn't do for 100 acres today? You feel me? What they wouldn't do for 100 acres today. You know? Governor, it says, excuse me. Governor Wyatt, here I am right here, issued patents to land on head right claims to Virginia Company until the Virginia Company failed. After Charles I took direct control of the company in 1625, his appointed royal governors continued to issue head rights. The colony, rather than the private company, collected the annual quit rents. This is where you get rent from. On your home, it's from the quit rent. Did y'all know rent comes out of the 1618 Charters of Orders, Laws, and Privileges, which is called the head right system? That's where you get rent from. Remember, before these people, you were on the land, there wasn't no rent. All the Indians knew you couldn't buy land. It was given from the Creator. And your land was where your people were. That's it. Everybody had enough. It was the United States was full of Indians and different colors, different types, different cultures, right? Basically the same ethnicity, but different cultures, different dialects. Some had total different tongues, but they still had trade languages that all of them spoke. Right? Quit rents were based upon the concept that the King of England or a feudal lord was entitled to require a person to provide military services in exchange for the right to live on the land. Or, if not military service, what, y'all? Indenturement. Right? An indenture. That claim could be replaced by the residence agreement to pay quit rent instead. See? The authorization of quit rents with land held in free and common soakage without a commitment of personal service permitted a resident to sell the right to live on the land. So long as the next person paid the quit rent, land tenure no longer was limited to members of a family who had made an obligation to a feudal lord. Quit rents facilitated the creation of a real estate market. Look. Hey, buddy. Hey, what you doing, buddy? Hey, you're just so pretty. Yeah, you are pretty. The authorization of quit rents with, look at this, with the land held in free soakage, common and soakage, without a commitment of purpose service, permit the resident to sell the right to live on the land. So this is how I get, who's and ever to come onto my land and build up a portion of it. You dig what I'm talking about? Build up a portion of it, and he pays me a stipend. This system ends up turning into what we understand as peonage and sharecropping. Right? Watch this. I ain't make this up. Kosmon ain't making this up. Quit rents facilitated the creation of a real estate market with willing buyers and sellers who did not need the Lord's permission for a transaction. Why? Because I got the deal with the so-called Lord for the 100 acres. I'm just gonna quit rent out a portion of it so you can build your house on it. And now that you got your house on these 2-3 acres that I done gave you, right, or these 10 acres, I done allowed you to use, you got to pay me back with the work being done on that land, right? The house built on there becomes what is called real estate, right? The land is the land. The structures on the land are the real estate, right? So land and real estate really doesn't have anything to do with each other than that real estate sits on top of private land or communal land held in common by the United States today, right? So I didn't need to go to Lord Lil Fauntleroy no more when you can come straight to Kosmon. I got the deal with Fauntleroy. You see what I'm saying? So I can get my 20 of them cousins and them to do the work for me that I would have to do for myself, and I just pay dog back. See how that works? It's a system for passing the buck. Huh. They don't teach it like this, do they? In the Virginia colony, quit rents were supposed to be collected by the local sheriff and used to defray the cost of administering the colony. Quit rents and per capita capitation. Taxes were raised. What is? Hold on. I gotta look that up. I don't know what that means. Capitation. Hold on. What is the definition of capitation?
The payment of a fee or grant to a doctor, school, or other person or body providing services to a number of people, such that the amount paid is determined by the number of patients, students, or customers.
Right? Just what I said. By how many people I got on my land now, I got this 100 acres, I got enough room to put 20 people on there to work the land down. They pay me quit rents by the number of people, such that the amount paid is determined by the number of patients, students, or customers, or indentures, servants, or slaves who come to work the land, right? Under an indenture, right? But instead of the indenture being to the Lord that I am was personally indentured to, I got the land now. You pay me a stipend, right? A payment or a fee to work that land, right? See, I didn't know what capitation was, but we gonna go always and see. They were raised as needed, so England did not need to pay colonial officials from the treasury in London. You see what I'm saying? It's an extra stream of money. When Lord Fairfax acquired the large grant of Northern Neck, he collected the quit rents from that area, becoming a what? A landlord. Ooh-wee. Y'all see the game? Collection of quit rents outside of the Fairfax grant ended in 1777. Practically, the 1777 law also ended quit rent collection within the Fairfax grant by allowing anyone who paid a quit rent there to deduct it from their taxes. The award of 50 acres for everyone imported to Virginia incentivized people in England to sign indentures. I'm going to read that again. I'm going to read it again. The award of 50 acres for everyone imported to Virginia incentivized people in England like Lord Fairfax to sign indentures on people here, people in England, and send them over. Why? Because for everyone that he sends, he gets a 50-acre land grant. Why? Because he paid the cost to get them over here. What we're going to find out is that they just start stealing babies and women and hijacking people and just sending anybody over here, right? It incentivized people in England to sign indentures and spurred wealthy individuals, listen, to find and transport indentured servants to Virginia, but they don't tell you by any means possible. This is where the invention of the term kidnapping comes in, y'all. This is where the term kidnapping, right? The giving of the 50 acres of land to anybody who who sent indentures over made these people stupid wealthy, and then they're buying acres and acres of land for pennies on the dollar, just trying to boost up the coffers of the Virginia company. right? So how do you get the money? By sending the people and then promising a parcel of that land to them people, right? But what if you already got acres, right? What if you already got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 acres, right? That means you can have 50 slaves. What if the slave die in that 3 to 7 years? You keep the land. But guess what? Since I owned it outright, I'm not paying the Virginia company no more. It's going straight to pocket for a matter of 7 years. After that, guess what? I still own the patent, even though you got the deed. You got the right to the land. You can work it. I'm not going to fuck with you, but you still don't own it. See the trick? Huh? You got to have the patent to own the land. Right? Within 50 years, right? Within 50 years. So I guess from 1618 to 1668, 70,000 Europeans got brought to the Chesapeake region. Shout out to the 757, man. That's my second home. You did what I'm talking about. Shout out to the 7 cities. Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Suffolk, Chesapeake, Bad News, Hampton, Richmond. You did one Suffolk. You did what I'm talking about. Shout out to all my people over there. Shout out to all my people in Elizabeth City too. You did what I'm talking about, right on the border. Servants would work for what? 3 to 7 years. I keep telling you, Kosmon ain't making this up. Clearing new land, moving the edge of the English settlement further west into North American continent, and increasing the volume of tobacco exports. At the end of their term of indenture, the contracts usually require that the freed servant be given some basic clothing and farming equipment. There was no automatic grant of land to immigrants. If an indentured servant had been transported by an investor who claimed the 50-acre head right, then that servant did not acquire title to any land, despite their term of service. Didn't I just explain that to you? Without land of their own, the freed servants had 4 choices. The first 3 were to return to England, negotiate a deal to work for someone else in exchange for support and wages, or find unclaimed land on the edge of settlement and become a what? Become a what? This is what they want you to do with all that UCC work. A lot of y'all don't know this is what they doing. Squatting. Squatting. I know this is why my page ain't gonna grow, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. This is why they clip my lives. Huh? I don't know why my folks don't share my shit. You dig what I'm talking about? Maybe it's not helping you, but maybe it's somebody around you who willing to take these steps and need some of this understanding. Share the live, y'all. I don't ask y'all for a quarter. I don't ask y'all to do shit, but thumb up the video and share it out on your platform. I don't know why don't none of y'all just start a channel and every time I go live, share the live on your stuff. You don't even never have to produce content. I do all the work. Hence, I'm your indenture. Huh? Up here working for a head right. Huh? Why don't y'all do that? You dig what I'm talking about? Not only would it help you, it'll help me. But sooner I get paid, sooner y'all can get paid on this. I don't care. I'm not asking for nothing. I could have been monetized, but you did what I'm talking about. I'm not about to do nothing willy-nilly that I don't feel right with. I'm not paying nobody to look at me or try to come over here and hear what I'm saying. I don't give a damn. Some of y'all gonna get this, some of y'all ain't. Some of y'all are gonna become your own savior. Some of you will remain slaves. I'm okay with that. Are you okay with still being a slave? I'm okay with you being one. I ain't gonna be one though. What you gonna do? You gonna stay in Egypt with the Egyptians? Or you leaving out with Moses and them? Huh? What you gonna do? What you think them Leviticans that was following the Israelites out of Egypt did? Huh? They seen Moses put the work in, and they said, "Oh hell no, we not staying here. We going with y'all." So now the choice is up to you. What you gonna do? You gonna shit or get off the pot? Huh? You gonna help out? Or you just gonna keep all this knowledge to yourself? I got it free. I give it to y'all free. I get this stuff free. Sometimes I get whole downloads. And boom, here we are. The fourth option, right? You could have became a squatter, but the fourth option was to purchase low-cost land, typically on credit. Didn't I tell you this is where sharecropping and peonage to the land comes from? Facilitated by the head right system, authorized by Great Britain, and ultimately powered by the papal bull dumb diverses. Got your ass bread trail. The fourth option was to purchase low-cost land, typically on credit, and then improve it by cutting down the trees and preparing fields suitable for growing crops such as corn and tobacco. So that means somebody had to teach you how to do it. You didn't know how to do it. That was the dream of many of those who signed indentures, trading up to 7 years of labor for the chance to become a landowner. Those who lived through their period of indenture struggled to become landowners, but the potential in Virginia was greater than that in England until the 1660s. As the forested frontier, didn't I tell you it was trees everywhere here? As the forested frontier was converted into farms, notice it didn't say plantations. Notice it didn't say plantations, because you know what you can't do to plantations? Can't tax them. But farms are tax-regulated lands that grow food crops. A farmer, right, is a tax collector. He doesn't actually plant anything. The people who plant things and deal with the agriculture own the plantation. Planting, running a plantation, is not the same as a farm and farming. farming is collecting the taxes from the plantations. So farmers are tax IDs. A farmer is a tax ID. That don't mean you did anything with planting or agricultural at all. Huh? It wasn't until afterwards that you learned how to grow corn, that you learned how to grow tobacco, that you cut down all the goddamn trees, till you could produce a company called a farm, right? Where taxes can be pulled from those who are using the quit rent system. You see it? You see it? This is how you get. This is how you do it. This is how you get that indenture. This is how you get that slavery title on you. This is how you become a peon or in peonage to your own land. Huh? That was the dream of many of those who signed indentures, trading up to 7 years of labor for the chance of becoming a landowner. Those who lived through their period of indentures struggled to become landowners, but the potential in Virginia was greater than England in the 1660s. As the forested frontier was converted into farms, many of the servants managed to become landowners. In Virginia, they could provide their children a better opportunity at gaining wealth. The risks were high, but so were the rewards. For former servants may have been cash poor. Hold on, let me light this up. The former servants may have been cash poor, but they could buy land on credit. Huh? Huh? From one of the many members of the gentry. They weren't even in the United States. They had a homeboy who came and worked for them on the land. The gentry were the wealthy top 5% of Virginia's stratified society. Some were Cavaliers, so supporters of King Charles I, who had moved to Virginia during the English Civil War. They arrived with sufficient wealth to acquire large tracts of land, speculating that it would gain in value over time. The investment was successful when someone acquired title to large blocks of land at low cost per acre, and then to found settlers willing to pay a higher price per acre for small parcels. Has anybody ever heard of the saying? Right? Have anybody ever heard of the saying, buy low, sell high? Have you ever heard of the saying, buy low, sell high? Hit me with a 2 in the chat. Hit me with a 2 in the chat. Right? Did what I'm talking about? I'm gonna start linking Black Lavender. I'm gonna start linking all my stuff to I do have a Kosmon Cal page on IG. It's not a lot of stuff up there. I'm gonna link it and then transfer all the stuff that's all the good stuff that's on Jehovah Chronicles over there too. So you'll be able to go on to IG and YouTube and Facebook and tap in. You dig what I'm talking about? Let me see. Right? Okay, I see the tools in there. Buy low, sell high. Right? Coming out of this same system of head right. Right? But it's coming through the Cavaliers. This King Charles homeboys, right? Buying low, selling high, and getting men to indenture themselves to the land to work it for them. Because remember, in the end of the day, they got this on credit. So you got to pay me back. And guess what? If I don't get paid back, your indenture either is stretched till it's paid back, or you did what I'm talking about. You kicked off and kicked out the land, or you re-up all on your own to pay that land off. Now look, here we go. This is what we want to get to right here. Abuses of the head right system allowed some people to expand legitimate claims. Abuses of the head right system allowed some people to expand legitimate claims. Some ship captains arranged for county officials to award head rights for sailors who came to Virginia but did not stay. Sometimes both a ship captain and a person paying the transportation costs obtained head rights for the same individual transported to Virginia. In most straightforward corruption, a claim could be filed for more immigrants than actually arrived in Virginia and granted by the Secretary of the Colony in exchange for other favors. So what they was doing was, some of these boat captains was, let's say you got 20 indentures on your boat, 30 indentures, right? That's 1,500 acres. But let's say there's 40 indentures that you brought. So that's an extra, what's 50 times 10? That's 500 acres being applied to these made up men, many of them who are the shipmates of the captain. So let's say you got an extra 20 men to run the boat and you got 20 captives, but you filed for 40, right? You're supposed to get 1,000 acres. Now you got 2,000 acres, right? You give your boys, they 50 a cut. You dig what I'm talking about? You get your 20, however many times you do it. But let's say you just did it once. You got 2,000 acres. The people work their time. You pay them they already working the land. They there. Your land is right next to them. Whether you come back there or not, you got a 50-acre plot, right? And it's 20 of y'all who was all on the ship together. You dig what I'm talking about? So now y'all got 2,000 acres. Everybody then got paid off and all that. Now you got an extra 3,000 acres to split between 20 people and the captain. That's if you did it once. You see that? It's a scam. So a dude, I have, massive amounts of land depending on where he is, and he not even on the land, nor was he an immigrant, nor did he, you dig what I'm saying? Nor did he come to work the land. But now I got head rights. You dig what I'm talking about? To a piece of land that is all mine. And guess what I'm going to do next time? When I get back over here with another 20 slaves, I'm going to do it again. So now I got 2,000 acres to split between these same 20 people. See the game? Boy, this is some dirty mess here. Dirty mess. They don't want Kosmon to expose this, but I'm turning the lights on. All rats and roaches got the ring. Right? Look, I'm going to read it again. Abuses of the head right system allowed some people to expand legitimate claims. So there was a legitimate 20 people. I can blow that up, right? I put the extra 20 people on there who may have been with the captain. Some ship captains arranged for county officials to award head rights for sailors who came to Virginia but did not stay. Sometimes both a ship captain and a person paying the transportation costs, like the dandy back in London, both obtained head rights for the same individuals. See what I'm saying? Transported to Virginia. And most straightforward corruption, a claim could be filed for more immigrants than actually arrived and granted by the Secretary of Colony in exchange for other favors. Virginia plant, and they believed it. Why? Because it was a legal claim. The claim was legal, except he wrote 40 instead of 20. They don't care by the time that they get the paperwork and all this stuff. The people is already on the land. They ain't coming back counting. And then, if you come back and there's 20 people there, then so what? We don't even know where the other people are. They right back on the boat, going to get 20 more. Gangster. Right? A claim could be filed for more immigrants than actually arrived in Virginia and granted by the Secretary of Colony in exchange for other favors. Virginia planters who imported slave labor from where? From the West Indies. They'll never tell you about the Indian slave trade. The intra-American slave trade. Huh? We know that these ain't quote unquote Native Americans on the reservation. Where they got enslaved at? When? Where? Who enslaved them? I'm saying them people didn't even get here to the 1800s. Period. Tops, they came here at the same time that they white zaddy came here. Huh? Virginia planters who imported slave labor from the West Indies or directly from Africa were awarded 50 acres per slave, just as they awarded 50 acres per indentured servant, so it ain't no different. Both large and small landowners imported slaves or purchased them from ship captains who brought them to the colony for sale. Now, is it easier to bring a people, right, all the way from Africa, or is it easier to bring them from Puerto Rico? Is it easier to bring them from the Virgin Islands, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba, St. Thomas, St. Lucia, St. Croix, Bermuda, Jamaica? It would be easier to go down there and get them people. Why would you keep crossing over the sea? Don't make sense. When you're going to get the same 50, whether you take them from here or over there. Right? Don't make sense. Right? Just as they were awarded 50 acres per indentured servant, both large and small landowners imported slaves or purchased them from ship captains who brought them on colonies for sale. George Menifee, George Menifee was the first to claim a large number of head rights for one shipment of slaves, obtaining 1,150 acres for the 23 slaves he imported, along with what? 37 other white servants in 1638. One second, y'all. George Menefee, right? Imported 23 slaves, along with 37 white servants in 1638. The head right claims for the indentured servants listed the names. Listen. The head right claims for the indentured servants listed the names of the individuals. But the claims for the slaves rarely, not that it didn't, rarely identified the individual slaves. But what you're going to find out is a lot of these quote unquote whites are still Negroes being brought here from Europe. Hey, little butt. Here, take that. So we got to dodge the hijack on this black and white and who is actually a slave. Right? The colony had an excess of land and a shortage of people. How are you fighting and winning all these wars? Huh? Who are you using to fight with you? If there was an excess of land and a shortage of people, and you only had a couple colonies at this time, who are you pushing out and how are you doing it? With who? Because you can't even people your own places. How are you fighting? Who's doing the fighting with you? They played both sides against the middle, y'all. They got Indians to war against Indians. Right? You help them out, and then they set you up with a Thanksgiving dinner. You come to Thanksgiving dinner, and they mow you down and kill you and take your stuff too. That's the game. Right? My enemy's enemy is my friend till my enemy is gone, and then he turns into my enemy. See the game? White boy play a cold game. It was public policy to encourage population growth through immigration. It was public policy to do an illegal act and to induce immigration through promises of cheap land. This policy was not limited to the colonial era. The United States did this again. Who did they get this land to? Huh? They so-called buddy who helped war against us. Huh? Remember, they wasn't freeing niggas in 1859 when they went into the Civil War. They wasn't freeing us. They was freeing white folks, pale faces from Europe, pale faces from Africa. They was freeing these people, not me and you. We owned the land. Why you think we was fighting? We wouldn't give a damn if a white dude was enslaved. No, we was trying to keep the land. No, we wasn't. You wasn't about to put us on no little parcel way out there in the West. No, I'm from over here in this land y'all calling Georgia. I'm from over here. So I'm from the East. From the Southeast. You ain't gonna put me on no tree and go nowhere. Right? And for those who did, they were able to keep their tribal. Listen, what a tribe is. They got tribal affiliation to a piece of land. All right? did you get land in the Homestead Act? You got to look it up. Look up your people's surname and see where the different homesteading places were, because they just weren't in the West. They were also in the East Coast in the North. They were also in different places in the Midwest. Huh? The United States passed the Homestead Act in 1864. Let's look it up. Right? Let's go into the Homestead Act. Right? You dig what I'm talking about? I know what it is, but my people don't always know. What is the Homestead Act of 1864? Watch this.
Act, enacted during the Civil War in 1862, provided that any adult citizen, or intended citizen, who had never borne arms against the U.S. government could claim 160 acres of surveyed government land.
Claimants were required to live on and improve their plot by cultivation of land. Ain't this still head rights? Dun, 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 dun. Freaky ass niggas. This is a 69 God that had to think this up. You had to be a freaky evil God to implant this inspiration into a man's heart. Remember, this is under the auspices of Christ. The Homestead Act was in 1862. Wasn't enacted till 1864. What was the Homestead Act of 1864? The Senate story to help develop the American West, right? So they had a Homestead Act of 1862 and a Homestead Act of 1864 to help develop the West and spur economic growth. Congress passed the Homestead Act of 1862, which provided 160 acres of federal land to anyone who agreed to farm the land. The act distributed millions of acres of Western land to individual settlers. What do those settlers become, y'all? A tribe. Right? Let's go back. I ain't gonna keep y'all long. I'm gonna get y'all up out of here real quick. Right? Look up the land given in the Homestead Act from 1862 to 1864 to provide free land. How is it free? How is it free? You took it. You killed off people, you genocided them, you moved them, you immigrated them with an E. Huh? To provide free land. You took this from aboriginals. Remember, the claim was made by Great Britain first, or England, and Spain, and Portugal. You see what I'm saying? Under the auspices of the Catholic Church and Christ himself. Old Luamon. To provide free land and encourage immigration to the unsettled Western area. If you move there too, you got to keep your title as quote unquote Indian. If you stayed on the land, your title was changed to Negro. Huh? If you stayed on the land, your title was changed to Negro. If you went out, and moved off your stuff that you just went and fought for. Because mind you, the Indian Silver, Silver, Silver War is taking place directly at the same time as the American Civil War. I'm telling you, the Civil War is a an act or a so-called war that played out actually in court. They didn't fight anybody. The people who were fighting were the Indians. They had a couple white guys leading them, but it's the Indians and the niggas fighting, right? The Indians is the niggas, either way, right? But melanated people are fighting against melanated people, North and South, for different reasons, both being played, both sides against the middle, to free up people who wasn't us, right? The American Civil War is a cover-up for the American Indian Silver War. Look it up. And encourage immigration to the Western land. Homestead law was not, listen to this, 112 years later, the Homestead law was not repealed to 1976 with the passage of Federal Land Policy and Management Act. Now, I'm going to leave off right there. I'm going to come back, probably do a part 2 tomorrow. You dig what I'm talking about? This is in Northern Neck, Lower Fairfax. He could sell land in whatever size parcels he wished without regard to head rights or treasury rights, right? And this is from the Library of Virginia, a patent for William Crossway, November 10th, 1751, y'all. This some of y'all people land right here. And you got that Powhatan blood. You got that Paul Monkey. Huh? You got that Waccamaw blood. Huh? You got some of that Iroquois in you. Some of that Algonquin blood in you. This your land that he just stole off willy-nilly because he killed your grandfather, Lord Fairfax. Right. I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. I'm going to just go ahead and leave it right there, man. If y'all got something up out of this, man, we're going to go ahead and get back into it tomorrow. We're going to break down the head rights, the military rights, and the treasury rights. You dig what I'm talking about? I'm telling y'all, this is how UCC works. It's not no mystical, magical something where you're going to tie into a money pit or some secret type of account, man. It's squatters. Squatters. Trying to produce a deed and think people just won't come out there and pull the straps on them. They find out every time that the police ain't playing with y'all. They kick y'all right out of it. You get you get a good 2-3 year run in one of these big old lavish cribs. But when they catch up with you, it's a wrap. This is the same scam that head rights is what they're trying to play with UCC information. They're trying to get something for nothing. It's illegal, y'all. You think the United States government gonna let you do what they did to you, to them? No, you got to use their laws against them. Yes. Facts, Black Lavender. The self-proclaimed authority was warring amongst themselves in court. In court. Why do you think they was having seances all at the White House? They was going, shit. Even Lincoln got killed because he thought shit was sweet. If you was in a war, right, you wouldn't be going to no theater, having fun, and you dig what I'm talking about, kicking it, and you dig what I'm talking about, lollygagging around, and they thought it was sweet. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if John Wilkes Booth ended up to be a nigger. And he puked Lincoln Cap. Wouldn't surprise me one bit now. Now that I understand iconoclasm, right? They even made Lincoln white, and he ain't white. So for a nigga who may have owned some African white slaves or some European nigger slaves or vice versa, you coming up there talking about you about to take something without no repayment. That ain't about to work, right? So a lot of people, y'all got to look this up. A lot of people did get reimbursed for freeing their slaves. Reparations were paid, but they were paid to the masters, to the owners of the land, not the slave. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. You dig what I'm talking about? Yup, Melungeon, they were mixed up niggas and Indians and Europeans. You dig what I'm talking about? They had some African in them, but remember, the African is a pale face. Every African that was ever brought here from the western coast of Africa was white. A white boy with lights. Being indentured and enslaved in the Caribbean, where it's very hot, is where they get the term redneck from. Being enslaved in the mountains of Jamaica, Haiti, you dig what I'm talking about? Cuba and places like that, they get the term Mountain Johnny, right? Also, from this enslavement, you get the word Ofe. All derogatory terms towards pale faces, but so is Negro. Remember, Negro meant slave. So does black. So does African. Why does African mean slave? Because those people who came over here were pale faces. How do you know they pale faces, Kosmon? First of all, if you mix a brown Indian with a brown African, you pull a brown baby out, we don't know what it is. How do you know that this is a mulatto and they got African Negroid slave genetics? Because the skin gets lighter. That means we know the Indian still copper today. That meant the African was already pale. This is how you get a light-skinned mestizo. You wasn't on the bottom of the boat. I'm not saying it's right. Enslaving nobody is right. But you wasn't the slave. You were more, either you didn't participate in it or you owned the slaves. You can't even enslave a man on his own land. You must war against him and make him a prisoner of war. This is why they don't owe us for slavery, y'all. You don't owe us for slavery. You owe us for genocide. You owe us for head rights. You owe us for dumb diverses and doctrine of discovery and killing off a nation. You owe for colonization, not slavery. So when they talk about, well, you shouldn't get paid for slavery and all that, you're right. That's what you owe me for. You took the land, nigga. We need that back. And when you set yourself back up, watch this. When you set yourself back up in your right, in your right understanding and self. Hold on, let me show y'all. This is an international law. It's called and shout out to my OG who put me on game. He gave me the end. He gave me this part. I went back and did the rest. Right? But without this, where I'm supposed to be, I couldn't look back and see where I've been. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to the OG Alabama, right? That's my OG Alabama. It's called post-laminium. Look, post-laminium. This is something y'all got to get. It is a noun. It is what in international law. It is the rule by which persons or things captured in war resume their original status when restored to the jurisdiction of their own company. The rule by which a person or a thing that is put in war, right, captured in war. But I want to also show y'all this. When you capture a person in war, right? Hold on. Let me look at this. Let me show you again. Let me show you let me show you a different hold on. Look, let me show y'all this. The principle of post-laminium as part of public international law is a specific version of the maxim est injuria or ex injuria jus non oritur, or providing for the invalidity of all illegitimate acts that an occupant or an intention may have performed on a given territory after its recapture by the legitimate sovereign. But what post-laminium also does is that once you're captured, right? Once you're captured in this war, you are on paper, you are considered dead. See the genocide now? This is how 10 million so-called Indians were killed by little blankets with measles and yellow fever, which we already, mind you, we already had the cures to. The American Indian taught the European how to cure yellow fever, the measles, the mumps, all that stuff that they was giving over here. We already had cures. Look up a man named hold on, y'all. He first of all, they're gonna give it to, hold on, I got to pull this up first. They're gonna give credit to a man named Cotton Mather, right? Cotton Mather was a Christian preacher, right? I want to where is my little downloads? Hold on, let me see if I can find my downloads. Right? Because I want you to look this man up. I did a lesson on him a little while ago with Cotton Mather. Go back and look at Cotton Mather. It's probably about 20 lessons ago. I did a thing on Cotton Mather, right? But hold on, I want to show you. I want to give you this man's name, and it's slipping my mind, and it starts with the O, and his name is Onesimus, right? Look, let me show you. Kosmon don't make up nothing. I'm just well versed in what I do. I know what I'm saying. I know it. Not thinking. I know. Right? Onesimus. This is Cotton Mather slave. If y'all want to hear some more information, go into the book of S in the book of Kosmon. You'll get the backstory on Cotton Mather. And then it's gonna blow your mind because he got an indentured slave. I mean, he got an enslaved man with him, right? Right. This is an Indian, right? Named Onesimus. He had already had a procedure and a surgery here, so he was vaccinated from smallpox. He taught this to Cotton Mather, who went and told it to the Royal London Society of Medicine. You dig what I'm talking about? So an American Indian back in the 1600s already had the cure for smallpox. His name is Onesimus. They get a credit of Onesimus's find to Cotton Mather, right? Hold on. Now, see, dodge the hijack. They call him an African man, right? And what? Onesimus was an African man sold into slavery to the Boston Puritan minister Mather. What if I told you? I'm gonna go ahead and twist y'all cap. I want y'all to put your bobby pins in. Make sure your lace fronts is all the way low. Make sure you got your brims pulled down all the way, because I'm about to blow your wig. Cotton Mather is a nigga. Cotton Mather is a black European who owns an Aboriginal American. And how do you know? How do we know that Onesimus is from America? By the procedure he used. See, this procedure was just new to Europeans. In Asia, they had this type of, in deep southern Africa, they had this type of vaccination also, but they did it different. They would usually peel a scab, right, from the person with smallpox and then blow it up their nose, virtually getting them sick. But the way Onesimus did it, right, and how the Americans did it is how we do it today, right? We do injections, right? We do injections to inoculate ourselves. But back then they put a little slit on there and they rub some of the fluid from the nose and all that stuff, and from the pus coming out of these smallpox sores right into your bloodstream, and that inoculates you, right? And that they only did that style in America. Everybody else, right? Look, the procedure Onesimus described was variolation, a now outdated technique that has been replaced by vaccination, right? Look, right? Now, the type that he did right, of inoculation, of variolation, involved what? Rubbing pus from a person with smallpox into an open wound on the arm of an uninfected individual, right? Getting them a little bit sick, just like they give you a little bit of the disease now, and you get inoculated from it, right? But look, upon researching, Mather found that in addition to Africa, the practice of variolation had been used for hundreds of years in Turkey, China, and India, right? But it's a different type. They take the scab and blow it up your nose. We over in America, in Turkey, China, and India, and Africa, where they had it for hundreds of years, they do the type where they blow the scab up your nose. Over here, they do a little cut and rub the pus into your bloodstream, right? Proving that America is the only place at the time that was doing this. Other people in the world had, you know, the understanding of how to get rid of smallpox, but how they did it was totally different than how the people in America did it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you get what I'm saying? Ain't got nobody coming in, so I'm gonna just go ahead and jump off real quick. Yep, it's the okay for the genocide. It's Christ saying, hey guys, you dig what I'm talking about? Those niggers over there, they don't praise me. You can kill them and you're already forgiven. But hey, bring that bread back over here to Rome. We gonna need some of that about you, cuz. Huh? Because you going to the real land of milk and honey. That's America. Hmm? How can a place with 76 fresh water sources be the motherland? Do you know America has over 256,000 fresh water sources? Huh? How can a place with no water be the source of all life? It can't. I'm just saying, hey, I ain't gonna keep y'all long, man. Hey, just breathe in, right? Let that light in. Because I'm Kosmon, and I'm out, y'all. Peace.
And oh yeah, put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, just that Japheth, that chow mein, that papabul, that tau mein, since sunset in the arc of Wayne, my brain moving like Tao Sang, so ass above, it's so below, that up and that down thing, this flow is atmospherian, I call that a ground game, see water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning, so how your God make a sun without vortexian current, see the pattern is ponic, I'm reaching out for my people, oh watch me flow through your speakers, you feel the force of the ether, and when the force gets the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing Puerto. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN. It's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rap a lot just like Tila. Went from sinner to saint. Shout out my big homie Sela. Got more torque than a sports car. Got more work than a door stop. And the $4 million I make, I'm giving the Dr. Umar. Oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Super 7 in my rites and ceremonies. I'm married to Jehovah, holy matrimony. Confucius say, in the words of Caillou, before you hit the tomb, be a bridegroom. Only got one question for Miss Susan B. On how to last Ahuin is now a ennui. Blame my inspiration, I'm just thinking thoughts. But in the way of God's, we gon' keep it short. Why Jesus wanna kill me, Matthew 10:34. Just a couple questions that I'm needing to know. Oh, watch me flow, it's so potent. Set the vortex in motion. Super 7, I'm floating across the Aegean Ocean. Oh, you a Muslim now, so I guess you making salat. Well, I'm a Israelite, I'ma make him at the Shabbat. Got Moses on the bumper, super slap off in my spaceship photosphere. So I stay lit, peace and light to the faith is so yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air.